signing starts from covering the sky. Chapter 1. If you reject the rich woman at the beginning, you can sign in with the ancient Kongtan. Mount Tai, majestic and majestic, is revered as the head of the 5 sacred mountains, known as the first mountain in the world. Mount Tai has been a sacred symbol since ancient times. It is surrounded by the Yellow River and the Wen River. In ancient times, Mount Tai was regarded as the place where all things first rose and developed. There are even mysterious legends. No mountain is greater than it, and Shimo is greater than it. In front of the majestic Mount Tai, people feel as small as ants, and even the stars in the sky are insignificant. At this moment, at the foot of Mount Tai, a brand new Lamborghini stopped. A man and a woman got out of the car and looked up at Mount Tai. Mount Tai, really majestic and magnificent, deserves to be the first of the 5 sacred mountains. The young man sighed softly. He was about 20 years old. He took off his sunglasses as soon as he got out of the car, revealing a pair of clear and bright pupils. Well, it's a good appointment, Let's go up the mountain quickly. The woman also sighed. She looked about 30 years old, with a delicate face, light makeup, a plump body, a devil-like figure, dazzling wavy golden curly hair on her head, and slender thighs. Wearing a goose yellow miniskirt shows off your perfect figure. Accidentally speaking out of your heart. Chen Xuanzi's face darkened slightly, thinking of this. Okay, Sister Ning. A professional smile appeared on Chen Xuanzi's face, but at the moment his expression was slightly stiff and unnatural. There was no reason for him. The hot woman stared at him from time to time, causing him to palpitate for a while, feeling like he was being stared at by a beast. Moreover, at the foot of Mount Tai, the eyes of many tourists were a little strange, which made him very uncomfortable. Anyone with discernment could see that this pair of men and women were handsome men and beautiful women, but they were a little weird. There is nothing wrong with the man. He is young and handsome. Well, as for the woman, although she is extremely beautiful and well-maintained, she can still see the wind and frost of the years. Old cow eats tender grass? I don't want to work hard anymore. I was taken care of by a rich woman, and another member of my generation has fallen. Is this the annihilation of humanity or the loss of morality? Many people whispered. The eyes of men were envious, and the eyes of women were very strange. Let's go. Ning Xia stretched out her white jade-like hand, subconsciously trying to pull Chen Xuanzi's strong arm, but the latter quietly avoided it. Ning Xia wasn't angry either. She still laughed and thought it was a thin-skinned young man. Sorry. However, Chen Xuanzi was very bitter in his heart. After experiencing all kinds of things, looking at Mount Tai, his mind suddenly fell into a trance. He is not from this world, but from another time and space, but what surprised him is that this world is very similar to the world on Earth, like a parallel time and space. A few days ago, after reviewing novels all night, I woke up and came to this world. By chance, I was chosen by a rich woman as a bodyguard. At first, he refused in his heart, thinking that he was a man and should have dignity, and being a bodyguard for a rich woman was too dignified. But when this rich woman named Ning Xia, who was engaged in real estate, offered him a high salary of 100,000 a month, he took it upon himself. After all, survival was the only important thing, and the bodyguard could not accept anything. The rich woman's personal expert. He originally thought that this was the script for his future life, but he didn't expect it to be far from simple. And today's visit to Mount Tai is also proposed by Ning Xia. Why bring a bodyguard out to play, the deep meaning of which is self-evident. The two of them played all the way, and saw the rolling hills, big and small, like rolling waves. The huge waves emptied, and the nearby mountains were dark green. The mountains in the distance are green, and the front of the mountain is surrounded by clouds and mists, like a fairyland, beautiful. When they arrived at the top of the Jade Emperor, the two stopped. The Jade Emperor Ding, formerly known as Taiping Ding, also known as Tianzi Peak, is the top of the main peak of Mount Tai, the head of the 5 sacred mountains. The inscription on the shrine is inscribed Chai Wang Legacy, indicating that the ancient emperors used to burn firewood to sacrifice to the sky and worship the gods of mountains and rivers. Are you in good health? Ning Xia's beautiful eyes revealed a moving light, and she glanced at Chen Xuanzi with interest, and said with great meaning. Chen Xuanyi was ashamed for a while. His physical fitness was surprisingly good. After several hours of mountain road, he did not sweat much. His breathing was still very even, His face was not red or his heart was beating, which made him very surprised. Okay. Chen Sunzi smiled slightly, but there was a look of surprise in his eyes. This Ningxia was also very relaxed, with a natural look, not like an ordinary delicate woman at all. Ding! When you arrive at the Jade Emperor Peak of Mount Tai, the sign-in system in the world of covering the sky is turned on, and the sign-in location is refreshed, whether to sign in. Are you here? The legendary system. Chen Sunzi's heart was instantly excited, and he could not help but lit a cigarette tremblingly. Fortunately I didn't give up. After all, I waited for the system. I was alone in a strange world, and it seemed a little unreasonable not to give some system. After all, this dog system appeared in time, and I was almost controlled by the rich woman, and I couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Covering the sky is actually covering the sky, which made him even more excited. He just read this novel all night and woke up to come here. In his heart, this novel is the real pinnacle, aftertaste. Endless? Ascend the road to the sky, step on the song line, and cover the sky with your fingers? The vast and endless world of immortals, strange and mysterious. Just imagining it made his blood boil. It is estimated that if the system does not come, he will not be able to withstand the pressure of the rich woman, and from then on, he will completely fall into the happy tenderness of this rich woman. Sign in. Ding! Taishan Yahuangding has successfully signed in, and won the novice sign-in reward, the ancient heavy pupil. With the success of the sign-in, an incomparably bright light fell and merged into his eyes. Then Chen Sunzi's expression was shocked. He felt that his eyes had undergone some abnormal transformation and became different. One eye and two eyes. Chen Sunzi turned on the mirror function in his mobile phone and found that in his eyes, there are actually two pupils in one eye, which are actually the legendary double pupils. His originally short-sighted eyes, at this moment, are extremely bright and extremely deep. Looking into the distance, he can suddenly see the appearance of ants crawling 100 meters away. Xiao Chen, what do you think of me? Ning Xia looked at the vast sea of clouds in the distance and suddenly approached. She spoke coldly, a touch of natural fragrance emanated, and a touching smile appeared on the corner of her beautiful mouth, looking at Chen Sunzi with a full of laughter. Unexpectedly, in only 3 days, this woman wanted to take him down. Could it be because of his good physical strength when he first watched him climb the mountain? Sister Ning, you are a good person, but we are not suitable. Chen Sunzi pondered quickly in his mind, and said very euphemistically, he refused directly. If he didn't get the sign-in system, he might be a little moved, but now, he thinks it's unnecessary. Asking this kind of question shows that the other party has clearly expressed his thoughts, and he simply answers directly. After all, the sign-in system has arrived, and he should have a greater pursuit, otherwise he will come to this world in vain. What's more, when he went to pick up the rich woman from the hotel yesterday, he would never forget the pale man behind the rich woman who was walking against the wall. You don't think about it anymore. Ning Xia was a little stunned. He didn't expect the man in front of him to reject him outright. It was easy for a rich young woman like him to attack some young fresh meat. Following Chen Sunzi's clear rejection again, a trace of frost appeared on Ning Xia's pretty face, and the charming look in her eyes disappeared. Then I'll go, you're fired, just do it yourself. After saying that, Ning Xia gave him a deep look, then turned around without hesitation. Her hair was covered with golden waves, and she didn't look back again, looking very annoyed. Chen Sunzi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked at Ning Xia's retreating back. Suddenly, his pupils suddenly widened, and he found that the other party's clothes had all disappeared, but after 3 seconds, it returned to normal. Heavy pupils actually have a see-through function. Chen Sunzi's expression was startled, and he understood that this was the ability of Chong Tong. In history, double pupils have been endowed with endless legends, known as the exclusive visions of saints and emperors, such as Kangja, the sage who created the characters, Xiang Yu, the overlord of Western Chu, and Li Yu, the queen of the southern Tang dynasty, etc. They all have double pupils. Zhishan world, Jade Emperor Ding, could it be that the 9 dragons coffin is about to set sail? Chen Sunzi understood the plot, and was immediately excited. When he came to the Jade Emperor Peak, could it be that he had his own arrangement? While thinking about it, suddenly a large number of young men and women climbed the top of the Jade Emperor. There were about 30 people, men and women, and there was a young foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes. Could it be that this is Ye Fan and his party? Chapter 2, Entering the Inside of the Copper Coffin, The Temptation of the Flower? Omegas, this is the legendary Jade Emperor Peak of Mount Tai. The blond man looked very excited, dancing, and looking at the Wanshan Mountains under his feet. He couldn't help but exclaim in broken Chinese, attracting the attention of tourists on the side. "Cade, don't yell, it will disturb other tourists," a beautiful woman in a cartoon t-shirt and shorts reminded, and then she translated and explained to him, looking toward Chen Sunzi. Chen Sunzi was even more excited when he saw Cade's name. This should be the legendary Western god of light, and he was also a part of the Big Dipper that entered the Big Dipper with Ye Fan in the early days. At the moment above the top of the Jade Emperor, there are many tourists one after another, but Chen Sunzi stood there, but it was very eye-catching, and people looked at him from time to time. Without him, only handsome? Climbing to the top of the Jade Emperor, at a glance, I found a handsome guy. Many women couldn't help but look a little strange, and they came over frequently, and some even came to ask for WeChat. What? But he's a little more handsome than me, but unfortunately he still has cataracts. A 1.9-meter young strong man couldn't help but muttered, looked at Chen Sunzi, and joked in a low voice to a few women who were traveling with him. Several female classmates rolled their eyes, caressing their foreheads with their hands, looking speechless. Chen Sunzi was speechless. His hearing was very keen. He locked on the person at once, and was discovered. The strong man couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He said something bad and was actually heard, which is embarrassing for him. "I'm sorry, I have no intentions." The strong man came over, scratched his head, and said a little embarrassedly. Chen Sunzi looked at the strong man in front of him, smiled slightly, and said that he didn't care, and he understood in his heart that this was probably Pangbo, Ye Tiandi's best friend. No, it stands to reason that Pangbo shouldn't appear at this time. He originally appeared in the copper coffin. Could it be that his arrival caused the butterfly effect and made him arrive at the class reunion in time? But the cataract still needs to be treated. Pangbo reminded again in time. Chen Sunzi was speechless again. He could see that this time he was sincere, and he didn't make fun of him, and he didn't know what to say. Unexpectedly, just after Pangbo said these words, a young man of about 24 or 5 years old came over. He was tall and straight, with a handsome face and an inexplicable calm temperament. Dragon and phoenix among people. Pangbo, stop talking nonsense. Hello brother, my name is Ye Fan. I will apologize to you instead of Pangbo. Ye Fan couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't help but stand up, and at the same time he was a little speechless to Pangbo. It's okay. Unexpectedly, the young man in front of him was actually Ye Fan, and he took the initiative to talk forward, which surprised Chen Sunzi. Your Excellency actually had the legendary double pupil. In ancient times, it belonged to the image of a saint. Ye Fan said with a smile. He had a smart mind, and in a few words he lightened up the embarrassment. I see. Chen Sunzi knew in his heart that Ye Fan himself was very knowledgeable, and he liked to read books on search and wonder. Seeing the legendary double pupil, he was naturally very curious, which prompted him to take the initiative to talk forward. Ha ha ha, that's natural. The legendary Yushan was born with double pupils. Then, some examples of ancient people who were born with double pupils were listed. Ye Fan's eyes lit up when he heard it. The person in front of him seemed to have the same interests as himself, and he liked these strange things that were not understood by ordinary people. The two talked for a long time. From the origin legend of Mount Tai to various secret stories and allusions about Mount Tai in history, there was a feeling of seeing each other late. Pangbo, who was on the side, was very depressed, and the two who were looking at the chat could not interrupt for a while, but kept nodding and agreeing, indicating that I was the same. I don't know how long it has passed, but now the sun is setting in the west, and above Yunfen, there is a layer of golden bright edge, shining like a treasure. Suddenly, several black dots appeared on the sky, approaching continuously, and then there was a whistling sound like wind and thunder. 9 behemoths fell down, like 9 long rivers falling. Everyone was startled, and couldn't help but turn pale. The huge dragon corpse of the dragon, pulling the bronze coffin, pressed down towards the top of Mount Tai. Dragon, a legendary thing? It actually appeared? Faced with such an incredible sight, everyone was blinded, and then after a brief silence, people ran in all directions. Everyone shouted, panicked, and ran away. Finally come. Chen Sunzi's eyes were bright. Zhulong pulled the coffin to meet Ye Fan, and he was also ready to rub the coffin ticket to Baidu. Boom! The 9 behemoths sank like 9 mountain ridges, cracking the Jade Emperor's top into cracks. 900-meter-long gigantic dragon corpses, most of which lie quietly on the top of the mountain, and a small part of the body hangs under the cliff, like a black steel great wall, full of shocking force, and extremely shocking to people's visual impact. Although Chen Sunzi had read the novel, he was still shocked at this moment. It was the first time he had seen such a legendary thing. He couldn't help turning his heavy pupils, stared at the past, and saw nothingness in the dragon's body, hazy, like a dead place. Brother, don't stand still, let's go down the mountain together. Ye Fan quickly reminded. Go down the mountain, go to the next Hammer Mountain. If I miss this trip, can I still make up the ticket? Chen Sunzi was speechless. The ruthless emperor estimated that he had already welded the car door to death in secret, and you couldn't leave if you wanted to. Look, what is this? In the big crack, everyone found some jade books one after another, and there were 5-color earth altars next to them. That's the Tang Song Jade Book. Chen Sunzi walked over, checked it carefully, and couldn't help but say, you actually know this stuff. Pang Bo couldn't help but speak. His eyes showed a bit of surprise, and everyone also looked over. In the 20th year of the Republic of China, Ma Hongkui led the army to station at the foot of Mount Tai, and accidentally discovered a 5-color earthen altar with 2 sets of jade albums, which are the legendary Tang and Song jade albums. Yes, then these 5-color earth altars should be altars. It seems that all these are used to worship Mount Tai when the legendary Emperor Feng Chan. Ye Fan couldn't help but speak. When everyone heard it, they suddenly became inexplicably excited, knowing how precious this was. This is our creation. Pang Bo laughed and looked at the jade books with obscure symbols. Young man, your thoughts are very dangerous. Aren't you afraid of sitting in prison? Chen Sunzi smiled and ridiculed. Pang Bo was speechless, thinking about it for a while, but he looked a little regretful and seemed a little unwilling. He actually grabbed a handful of soil and put it in his pocket outside the 5-color soil altar. This is probably a good thing, take it home as a souvenir. Pang Bo couldn't help but muttered, the movement of accepting is really not slow at all. Everyone watching was speechless, and the corner of Chen Sunzi's mouth twitched. This brother is a wolf, just like a locust crossing the border. No wonder he even dared to gnaw on the coffin board of the undead emperor. There's more. As everyone watched, everyone was surprised to find that there were more than 10 5-color altars. Could it be that in ancient times, there were really emperors here to enshrine Zen? Ye Fan whispered. Perhaps, there really was such an incredible and forgotten time, buried in history and unknown. Chen Sunzi replied. Everyone found an oversized altar, and everyone looked surprised. The altar had previously endured an incomparably terrifying weight, but www.uukansha.com was safe and sound, with no signs of being broken. I don't know what material it was made of. Let's go, you shouldn't stay here for long. Someone spoke coldly, and was instantly recognized by everyone. This place is too weird, making them very uneasy and want to leave. Just as everyone was about to leave, the 5-color stone altar began to vibrate, the top of the Jade Emperor shook, and after a while, everyone was shaken off and fell on the stone altar, knocking over some jade and ancient books. The light flickered, and at the same time, the stones were broken, and scenes began to appear. Everyone exclaimed, but nothing could be changed. They felt as if they were inexplicably enveloped by a force, unable to move, and extremely desperate. Bang! The bronze coffin vibrated, and the cracks on the coffin lid continued to widen. Everyone felt a trance, and they were absorbed into the coffin. It's noisy. My God. I'm cracked. What is this place? Boom. The 9 huge dragon corpses hanging on the cliff shook, and at the same time, the lid of the ancient bronze coffin made a loud noise, and then completely reset and closed. Everyone's faces turned pale, and this huge coffin actually closed automatically, as if they were all locked inside, which made them feel a sense of despair in their hearts. But Chen Sunzi was huddled in the corner at the moment. His eyes were thinking, and he thought of one thing. According to the original record, there was a ruthless man in the bronze coffin that the great emperor left for Ye Fan, which made him quite moved. After eating it, he immediately became a great emperor. It can be said that he ascended to the sky in one step. This kind of good thing made his heart fiery for a while. Where is the Hedao flower? Chapter 3, System Online Recharge Function, New Sign in Place. Chen Sunzi revolved his eyes, and a mysterious aura flickered in his eyes. He stared at the center of the coffin carefully, but he found nothing, as if he was blocked by something. My current heavy pupil is still in the growth stage, and I haven't stepped into formal cultivation yet. Naturally, it is not so convenient to explore many things. The double pupil is said to be able to break through the illusory, through the glitz, directly to the essence. From the current point of view, it is more convenient to only see through ordinary people and the like. Chen Sunzi understood that his idea of playing the Daihua at this time was indeed a bit unusual. Even if he could see it, he couldn't open the coffin. What's more, the Daihua was originally prepared by the ruthless emperor for Yefan. I was afraid that he would not be able to stay as emperor on purpose. As Yefan's secret guardian of the Dao, the lever of the world that covers the sky, the strength of the ruthless emperor is unbelievable. As the most tyrannical group of emperors, if she is targeted by her, it is really not a good thing. He can only be forced to give up. But after thinking about it, I still feel very sad and regretful. After all, Hedao flowers are really fragrant. Ding, the new sign-in place is refreshed. Dalian Temple, please sign in as soon as possible. Ding, the system has launched the recharge function. What good things will there be this time? The last time I directly signed up for Chongtong, this time I didn't know what it was, so he was looking forward to it. There is actually a recharge function, which makes him even more surprised. Just when Chen Sunzi was thinking about the flowers and the sign-in, some other people in the copper coffin, namely Yefan's classmates, had already been complaining for a long time, with a gloomy and bleak color. Why is this happening? My mobile phone has no signal. This is the latest model of the kidney machine. My fans have turned black. I will buy a domestic machine when I go back and give the kidney machine a bad review. Stop calling. It is estimated that the base station in Mount Tai is damaged, and we have no signal. Inside the copper coffin, it is estimated that there are substances that isolate the signal. Don't panic. This kind of thing happened on Mount Tai, and the whole country will know it very well, and even the world is shocked. It is impossible that there will be no wind. We just need to wait for rescue. It was Zhou Yi who spoke. He was very calm, and his words were very calm, which instantly made some people quiet down, and everyone felt a lot more at ease, but some female classmates were still sobbing in secret. Let's all get together. Zhou Yi made a proposal. Everyone agreed with this proposal, and gradually moved closer together again. They gathered together through the weak light of the mobile phone, and the shadows illuminated the faces of everyone, which was very strange. At this time, Chen Sunzi, who was still thinking about the flower of the road, suddenly came back to his senses. Looking at the people with a strange style of painting, he suddenly took out a large flashlight from his backpack and turned it on. Instantly, the inside of the copper coffin became much brighter. Even the atmosphere is not so weird anymore. After all, it's a lot brighter now, and everyone gathered around stared at each other, embarrassed to find each other, and some people were about to post face to face. The very strange atmosphere just now, at this moment, disappeared without a trace in an instant. Everyone looked back and looked at this man. Strangely, he came to Taishan to play, and there was such a large flashlight. I don't know whether he came to travel or prospect. Seemingly feeling the eyes of everyone, Chen Sunzi smiled awkwardly. Well, I'm a mountaineering enthusiast and like to explore. I will naturally carry this flashlight with me, and coming to Mount Tai is no exception. Everyone's faces suddenly realized, no wonder this is the case, but the brightened interior is indeed reassuring. After all, darkness can most cause people to fear the unknown. And only Chen Sunzi himself knew the real situation of the flashlight. When he entered the copper coffin, the sign-in system reminded him to turn on and update the recharge function. This made him need it for a while, should he take the road of Krypton Gold becoming immortal. Some daily necessities can be recharged and exchanged. For example, this flashlight can also be exchanged for some food and drink. According to the introduction, after entering the cultivation page, you can also recharge to obtain cultivation techniques and weapons. But now, although he has double pupils, he has not cultivated, and he is still immortal, so only some daily necessities can be recharged and exchanged. He directly recharged 648 yuan, for no other reason. The first charge, the minimum requirement of 648, he didn't feel it. After all, when it came to Baita, the money would not be used. Moreover, after the first charge 648 consumption was exchanged for the large lighting flashlight, the system prompted that there was actually a first charge reward, which was very similar to the routine of a certain news before crossing. The first recharge consumption reward is a leather whip and 2 candles. Chen Sunzi is directly a good guy. What's the use of this thing? It's not real at all. Besides, this sign-in system doesn't seem to be very serious. When the light brightened, everyone began to observe the interior. On the wall of the copper coffin, there were many bronze carvings from ancient times. The deep starry sky was densely covered, and there were carvings of ancient ancestors, as well as beasts of different shapes, and even some gods that are suspected to have tears. And looking for the light, everyone found a copper coffin in the center, and people exclaimed, "This is the real coffin, the outer layer is the coffin, and the two together are the coffin." Pangbo explained to some unfamiliar students, looking at Chen Sunzi and Yafan, as if asking for credit, showing that he also understands these mysterious knowledge. After all, he is an upright undergraduate student, not just me. Chen Sunzi laughed. This Pangbo really has a somewhat innocent and straightforward personality. Everyone couldn't help turning pale, thinking that this real coffin might actually contain a corpse, and couldn't help but feel a little scared. However, because the light was very bright and everyone leaned together again, their fears were greatly reduced, and it didn't take long for everyone to start whispering. The appearance of all this seems to be related to the 5-color altar in the center. Is it the 9 dragons coffin that he summoned? Do these bronze carvings record this unknown myth, and the ancestors in these bronze carvings summoned inexplicable existences here? Why is the altar summoning successful now? Because the ancient summons of the ancestors missed the time. Should the traces of ancient times be manifested in the present? There was a lot of discussion, and the fear was reduced a lot. Everyone started chatting, and even Yafan had several unmarried single female classmates who wanted to take the initiative to add Chen Sunzi, only to find that there was no signal and there was no way to add it. Chen Sunzi took the initiative to briefly introduce his situation to everyone. He also got familiar with the group of Yafans. With his familiar character, he quickly integrated into them and became one with them. Bang! I don't know how long it took. Everyone seemed to feel that the bronze coffin trembled, as if it fell, but it was dissolved by an invisible force and landed smoothly. Have you reached Ying Dangerous Star? Chen Sunzi's heart trembled, and he was about to usher in the first stop out of the coffin. This place is a dangerous area, suppressing the monsters of the world. Even if he has heavy pupils, he must be very careful. Did the rescue team come to save us? Oh my God, thank God. Everyone was overjoyed, and some even started to cry, because they saw the lid of the coffin opened and the light shining from the outside, giving them hope. At that moment, everyone felt as if they had become a light. Everyone left the inside of the coffin one after another and fled out in a rolling and crawling way. But the sight in front of them made them stunned. The majestic Mount Tai disappeared in front of them. The earth was like red blood, dark and deep, and the huge rocks were like tombstones, which looked extremely strange. Everyone searched along the previous bright spot, and found a huge rock in front of it, engraved with vigorous and powerful characters. This seems to be Zhongding Wen. The first word is Ying. Zhou Yi said. It's Ying Huo. Yu reading www.uukangsha.com is Mars. Yafan recognized the complete 2 words and said, looking at Chen Sunzi. Chen Sunzi also nodded with a solemn expression. Everyone's expressions changed greatly, and they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. They never expected it to be Mars. When everyone looked at the moon in the sky again, it was only half the size of the usual size. Only then did everyone fully understand that it was no longer on Mount Tai, and even if it was not Mars, it was still in an unknown place. Everyone's heart was heavy, but Chen Sunzi's expression was still a little calm. As soon as he came down, he watched this ancient star with his heavy pupils and found that the earth was extremely desolate, red, and it was barren, but he had not seen any creatures appear for the time being. He knew that according to the development of the plot, After entering the Dalian temple and taking away the temple artifacts, the demon would be unsealed and an accident would occur, so he took a few packets of potato chips from his backpack and distributed them to Yafan several people, but Yafan and several people refused. In this case, they really have no appetite. Everyone was speechless. Under such circumstances, Chen Sunzi could still have appetite, and he was also a werewolf, but Chen Sunzi was bitter. He just realized that the operation of the pupil technique would consume a lot of energy, and the practitioner was fine. If it was an ordinary person, there will be relatively large losses. But even though he was eating, his heavy pupils opened, stared at the surroundings, and kept running at high speed to avoid accidents. Not long after, everyone stepped on a piece of rubble, and the spirit came instantly, indicating that this place was once inhabited, so there is hope. Everyone walked along the light source and found many collapsed palaces. After passing through the ruins, an ancient temple appeared in front of them. Chen Sunzi understood that this was the place to suppress the crocodile ancestors. Ding! Arrived at Dalian Temple. Do you want to sign in? Chapter 4. Escape from Mars. Want to take a chance against Yafan? Sign in. Ding! The sign-in is successful, and the 5-star reward Emperor's Seal will be awarded. An obscure and complicated practice method was introduced into his mind. Chen Sunzi glanced at it roughly, and automatically started reading quantum fluctuations. He felt very extraordinary and his heart was hot. The Emperor's Seal is divided into 5 styles. One seal is stronger than the other. It can be practiced to the extreme. It can even turn the river into the sea and swallow the earth. Unfortunately, it has not been practiced yet. If it is officially practiced, then the first seal can be practiced. Open the mountain? Everyone stopped in front of the ancient temple and looked excited. In front of the ancient temple, there is a Bodhi tree that is as vigorous as a horned dragon, dotted with 5 or 6 green leaves, each of which is crystal clear and sparkling with green light, just like jade. The heavy pupils revolved. In the light of the eyes, the pupils were united, staring at the Bodhi tree, only to feel that the mystery was infinite, unfathomable. The Bodhi tree, known as the Tree of Thinking and Enlightenment. He knew that this was Yafan's chance, and in order not to spoil the plot, he wasn't going to win it. Let's talk about it. Chongtong is an invincible road. Why do you need to grab Bodhizi? Cough, go to the wrong set. For things like chance, you have your own double eyes. If you can't get something good, just look for an utensil in the ancient temple in front of you. Unsurprisingly, after a while, some of the artifacts in the ancient temples were successively obtained by these students, such as futons, rosary beads, jade ruyi and so on. Even Kaid, a foreigner, actually found half of the broken wooden fish, and knocked it lightly. Chen Sunzi wanted to laugh at it, like a foreign devil pretending to be a holy monk. How funny it is. Chen Sunzi's pupils turned slightly. His eyesight was amazing, and he also found a half of the bajra. But the best thing belongs to the copper lamp that Yafan got, which is a lot more than the other utensils. Looking at it again, Pangbo is really not an ordinary person. For some reason, he actually took off the ancient temple plaque of Dalian Temple, and everyone who watched it was speechless. As for Lu Yunzi, who was hostile to Yafan before, the unlucky guy who was beaten in the face by Yafan with a Mercedes-Benz car, now his face is black, and he has not found anything. Chen Sunzi glanced at him and realized that the Vajra originally belonged to him, but now he found it first. Good fortune. It is said that good people do not live long and ruin thousands of years. It probably makes no difference whether you black-hearted boy has a Vajra. Chen Sunzi couldn't help muttering in his heart. Just when Pangbo took off the plaque, the ancient temple was also collapsing, and everyone gradually realized that maybe the 5-color altar was the only way to survive. So they planned to go back the same way. On the way back, a female classmate suddenly fell to the ground and died inexplicably, which made everyone look shocked, because when they saw her head, there was terrifying blood on her head hole. Before everyone had time to feel sad, they found that several more people fell down one after another, all of them bleeding holes on their foreheads, which was extremely strange. People who were shocked by fear quickly wanted to stay away from this place. Then they were surprised to find that the objects of the Buddha and the gods in the ancient temple could actually resist the unknown danger. They held them in their hands and went to the altar carefully to escape. Originally, Liu Yunzi wanted to use the Vajra pestle to make trouble. At this moment, his face was gray and defeated, like a lost dog. He had no Buddhist utensils and could only escape under other people's utensils. Immediately afterwards, at the altar, an earth-shattering roar came from the direction of De Leiyin Temple, shaking the sky and making everyone tremble with fear. What is that? Is there any other life on Mars? According to legend, the ancient De Leiyin Temple suppressed the unparalleled demon. Someone said in a trembling voice. Puff. Everyone was surprised to find that a corpse not far away had an all-like black head covered with scales and looked like a crocodile. It was these little crocodiles who killed their classmates. Everyone found out that the people who fell to the ground were actually what they did. Everyone's eyes were horrified and they kept retreating. Those little crocodiles were not one, and they continued to surround them. The obscure gossip picture in the sky of the five-color altar, with only a little brilliance left, is obviously insufficient energy and cannot be activated. 3-inch pieces of miscellaneous things actually killed a few of my classmates, and I killed you all. Peng Bo gave a strange cry, his eyes were red, and he was the first to appear. Ye Fen also carried the lantern forward and blew it on the wick, and a burst of divine flame suddenly spewed out. A group of divine crocodiles were burned in pitch black and smelly. On the other hand, Chen Sunzi was holding a Vajra, and his eyes were running the double pupil technique. In his eyes, the speed of these little crocodiles slowed down. He slammed one by one, and the crowd watched frequently, but the crocodiles were actually destroyed no less than Ye Fan and the others. God and Special Buddha, give me a hand to suppress these demons. Cade also came on stage, very brave, turning the wooden fish in turns, talking about God's generosity for a while, and the mercy of my Buddha for a while, but he was not ambiguous at all. The little crocodile was constantly being killed, and the screams were very shrill and strange, making people horrified to hear it. Alas, the blood of these little crocodiles has converged into the energy of the 8 diagrams. Chen Sunzi reminded appropriately, everyone woke up and couldn't help smashing harder. If the energy of the 5-color altar is sufficient, it can be activated. This is their hope of escape. That's right, blood sacrifice them as nourishment for the altar, we have hope. Zhou Yi also spoke. As everyone accelerated, endured the fear, and fought against the crocodile, the light of Tai Chi and gossip in the sky became brighter and brighter, as if gathering energy one after another. In the distance, crocodile ancestors' earth-shattering roar sounded, and a pair of blood moons appeared in the sky, which were crocodile ancestors' eyes. Quickly enter the copper coffin. Due to Chen Sunzi's intervention, this blood sacrifice was not as thrilling as the original text. After the blood sacrifice was completed, everyone entered the copper coffin one after another. There was actually a female classmate who didn't enter, as if she was looking for something. You don't want to die, come in. Chen Sunzi roared, kicked her behind her. Chen Sunzi was swayed by the rebound, and the female classmate stumbled and entered the copper coffin. Boom! When the coffin lid was closed, everyone appeared in the copper coffin, and Crocodile Zia, the boy, closed the copper coffin for a while before everyone heard his earth-shattering roar. That's it. Chen Sunzi complained in his heart. He originally thought that Crocodile Ancestor would arrive at the moment when the coffin lid was closed, how thrilling and exciting, but he did not expect that this blood sacrifice was too fast. Crocodile Ancestor did not respond, and the altar began to activate. Waiting for it to react, all the car gods in Kaiamingshan have already set off on the road, so it can only be incompetent and furious behind him, roaring again and again. Thank you, Chen Sunzi. The girl who was kicked was still trembling slightly. She couldn't believe the thrilling scene just now. If he was caught up by Crocodile Zia, he would definitely be torn to shreds. You're welcome, coming out. Together is all weal and woe, and its fate. I'm curious, what are you looking for in that situation? Is it important? No, it's the phone. Her voice was as thin as a mosquito's foot, and she was a little embarrassed. What's on the phone? It's not a big deal to buy again, it's not expensive. No, it's mainly because the phone has some pictures of me. The female classmate whispered to Chen Sunzi. The corner of Chen Sunzi's mouth twitched, his eyebrows raised slightly. This girl seems to have a lot of information when saying this sentence. However, are you afraid that Crocodile Zia will still look at your mobile phone? He muttered silently in his heart. Although everyone got out of trouble, they were still very silent. Many of those fresh lives before have already passed away forever, which is a pity. Suddenly, Chen Sunzi's expression, who was closing his eyes and adjusting his breath, changed, and found a trace of unusualness, which made his body feel cold. His eyes were so deep that he didn't even notice that there was a faint mist that spread out. A figure, with disheveled hair and indistinctness, hid in the crowd and appeared on the wall of the copper coffin from time to time. The great completion of the Holy Eucharist. Chen Sunzi's eyes were dignified. He knew that this was the divine recitation of the ancient temple and the crocodile ancestor who got out of trouble together. This divine reverence was captured by Amitabha Buddha back then. Because he was grateful for his achievements, he couldn't bear to kill him, so he suppressed him on Mars. Crack. It didn't take long for the to start, and a male student came down. There were clear marks on his neck, and the ruler in his hand fell to the ground. Oh grass, let's do it anyway. Chen Sunzi's eyes were solemn. However, Lu Yunzi was not as suspicious of Yafan as in the original text. It was him who did the fouling, and there was no other reason. The people in the copper coffin were closer, and the key was that. Chen Sunzi thoughtfully took out a headlight before. The place where they were sitting was very bright. It is probably clear at a glance who did it. Chen Sunzi's unintentional action has resolved many contradictions. No matter how bad Lu Yunzi is, he can't open his eyes and talk nonsense. I have unintentionally resolved many contradictory actions. If the system has the achievement function, I estimate that I have initially achieved it, and the achievement of the Ambassador of Peace has been covered. I saw that a fingerprint suddenly appeared on Lu Peng's neck, and she fell down. The weak woman named Lu Yi suddenly explained, Yu reading www.uukanshu.com's tone couldn't help but tremble. Could it be, there are ghosts in here? Don't talk nonsense, I'm so scared. Everyone's expressions changed wildly. They had just experienced the ordeal of Mars, and they were about to encounter ghosts. If it weren't for ghosts, how could a good person inexplicably have fingerprints on their necks and then die? But then everyone found that in his body, a small crocodile appeared wriggling, and everyone hurriedly killed it, and they were relieved. When the matter came to an end, they all thought it was the little crocodile, but Chen Sunzi's eyes were deep, and the age of the gods was hidden deeply. He inadvertently glanced and found that the gods didn't notice him, and he was relieved. It didn't take long for Chen Sunzi to find that Yafan actually stood up, and there was an inexplicable rhyme in his whole person. He knew that it was the chance of Bodhisattva that came into play. Did you hear anything? Yafan looked at the small coffin in the center suspiciously, and everyone shook their heads, all very confused. Only Chen Sunzi understood. It was 100-character scripture, which made him a little jealous, and he couldn't help but want to go over and rub it, but when he saw the year of the gods lying not far away, his hair was disheveled, and he felt guilty for a while. The protagonist of Yafan's destiny is naturally unimpeded. He is an anomaly, and it is estimated that he is not big enough for the holy body god. Still stable? Chen Sunzi comforted himself, and then thought about, let's listen. The more I thought about it, the more I felt like this, and I thought to myself, I'm afraid of it Ali will let him go, and it's over. Chen Sunzi gritted his teeth, kept his expression still, and quietly slipped to Yafan's side when he made sure that the holy body god of great accomplishment did not notice him. Chapter 5. Arrive at the Forbidden Land. Yafan didn't realize it at the moment, because he was holding the ancient bronze coffin in his hand. Standing there motionless, there was an extraordinary breath rippling out. As Chen Sunzi approached, he was also calm, wanting to silently comprehend, but the thief was embarrassed that he didn't feel the wool. Whether it was because of Bodhisattva or Yafan's exclusive opportunity, although Chen Sunzi had some doubts, he did not continue to investigate. You said that the two of them were possessed by some ghost. Lu Yunzi said this to Li Changqing on the side. Li Changqing nodded in agreement. Chen Sunzi heard it naturally, and his face turned black, and then he stared at him with a bad expression. These guys didn't deal with Yafan in the first place, but now that they are getting close to Yafan, and because they are not from their group, they actually started to target themselves and Yafan and his party. You're looking for smoke, biting people. Pangbo held the plaque of Dalian Temple with a bad look on his face, as if he wanted to move on. Chen Sunzi's face moved slightly, and he found that Lu Yunzi seemed to have obtained a broken ring ruler from a classmate who died unexpectedly before. No wonder. There was a sneer at the corner of Chen Sunzi's mouth. It turned out that he felt that he could do it again. This Lu Yunzi belonged to the kind of submissive when he was weak. When Lu Yunzi didn't get the Buddha weapon before, he was honest and didn't dare to cause trouble, but now, it is estimated that the classmates here were inexplicably hurt by this sacred crocodile and stimulated him, and he started to be a monster with his small group. Even though Chen Xian put in a lot of efforts in the early stage, the original book has a lot less weird atmosphere and hostile calculations. But there are still some things that will happen in another way. Okay, stop arguing. Zhou Yi frowned slightly, then glanced around and said, I can't be 100% sure about safety right now, so be careful. Some people heard a tight expression and stopped talking. After all, those creatures were too frightening. I don't know what changes have taken place at the moment. After all, I have my own variable here, so I still have to be very careful. Before, because of his own participation, the bloodstain was completed ahead of time. Those Buddhist artifacts obtained from the ancient temple, according to the original work, have almost lost their divinity, but now they can still exert great power. It didn't take long for everyone to hear a strange voice. Although it was very weak, it shook people's hearts. There was a drum sound coming from a distance, which seemed to come from a distant time and space, dull and full of sorrow, and then the death knell sounded, filled with sorrow, ethereal and real. Everyone was surprised to find that the sound of drums and bells seemed to come out through the coffin wall, which made them horrified. Wouldn't this be the lament of the ancient emperor's burial? Suddenly, more mourning voices came, and they came together vaguely, as if tens of thousands of people were mourning for a person's funeral. And then there was a dragon roar, resounding through the mountains and rivers, shaking the universe, as if faintly, a real picture is engraved in the historical starry sky. At that moment, everyone had a certain feeling, as if they had seen with their own eyes a scene of an ancient emperor lording over the world, and then there was an unprecedented funeral on a huge scale. Our God's relics are starting to shine. Everyone was shocked, and the divine brilliance spilled out, and thousands of brilliance flowed out from the Buddhist vessel and submerged into the engraved picture on the bronze coffin wall. The coffin wall was originally covered with green patina, but at this moment, the vague engravings of ancient ancestors and gods, at this moment, are like resurrection, and become lifelike. Look over there, the star map is flashing. Pangbo whispered. Wherever everyone is looking, as the largest piece of ancient engraving, it is a vast starry sky. At this moment, all the stars are shining, and the background color of the copper coffin wall has not changed in the slightest. These 7 stars are exceptionally bright, and they seem to be the Big Dipper. Wang Zaiwen pointed and said, Look at the shiny thin line, it seems to be extending, and it is constantly approaching the Big Dipper. Could it be that the route we are traveling is the Big Dipper? With the current technology of human beings, it is impossible to fly there in millions of years. It is indeed too far away. That thin line is no longer spreading, and it is fixed in the Big Dipper star region. Are we going to get out of the coffin soon? It's really a weird journey. Pangbo couldn't help muttering. To be precise, we belong to stowaways, and the coffin is not only the kind of people who did not buy tickets but also make up for them. Chen Sunzi also laughed, and everyone couldn't help but smile. Dear passenger, the interstellar coffin number 9527 you took has arrived at the terminal. Pangbo suddenly joked like this. His voice just fell, and he hasn't waited for everyone to react. Everyone felt that the world was spinning, the bronze coffin was shaking violently, and it seemed to be sinking. It really seems to have reached the end. Is this another starry sky? Walking along the route of the gods, will it be the legendary fairyland? Everyone was excited and apprehensive, and even Chen Sunzi was a little excited. Finally, he arrived at the legendary Big Dipper. How many brilliant stories were staged here, and the endless legends made him fascinated. Bang! The lid of the coffin seemed to be opened, deviated from its position, and slid heavily to the side. Bright world! The breath of freedom! Saved! The people in the bronze coffin shouted excitedly, this place is no longer the vast land above Mars, and the fragrance of the fresh air, mixed with the soil is blowing. Everyone stood up and quickly rushed out of the copper coffin. What they saw in front of them was a magnificent and beautiful scenery. At this moment, they are on the top of a mountain, overlooking many scenery. In the distance are beautiful rolling peaks, strangely protruding stones and ancient trees that look like horned dragons, full of vitality. Chen Xuanzi put on his sunglasses and carried a backpack, like a young traveler, carefully looking at everything in front of him. He couldn't help but secretly marveled at himself, worthy of being the dojo of the ruthless great emperor, really extraordinary. It's great, it really is a beautiful world. It's more beautiful than many 5A national scenic spots. It's a pity that the phone is out of power, otherwise. Take a few photos. Finally, you don't have to worry anymore. Some people cried with joy. Boom! Just as everyone sighed, the giant bronze coffin made a metallic trembling sound, and everyone discovered that the copper coffin was on the edge of a cliff and fell into the abyss, which made everyone scared for a while. Looking at the surrounding situation carefully, everyone found that the 9 mountains were connected to each other, surrounding an incomparably huge deep valley. Looking down, it was pitch black. Where is this place? There's half a stone tablet there. Zhang Xiling ran over. What did you write? Many people were puzzled. Desolate ancient forbidden. What's the meaning? And the broken part? Everyone looked at it, and finally confirmed that, together, it is the 4 characters of the ancient forbidden land. The forbidden area suddenly gave people a lot of bad associations. Serious and careful people found that although there were flowers, plants, vines and trees around, there was no trace of any biological activity, which was completely unscientific. Chen Xuanzi's heart was clear, but he didn't reveal anything. In his mind, there were all those fruits and holy springs. After all, it is a fetish for rejuvenation. You can return to the state of your teenage years, and you will have a higher starting point when you practice in that way. Who said there is no living thing? There is an eagle. Chen Xuanzi was holding a cigarette. The smoke was smoky. His expression was comfortable. He was puffing up the clouds, looking not far away. Everyone was speechless for a while. However, the eagle also attracted the attention of the public. It was circling. Its whole body was golden, and the whole body was cast like gold. It's noisy. Wang Xiwen saw the eagle moving from far to near. His body trembled with fright, and bumped into Chen Xuanzi, causing the cigarette from the corner of his mouth to fly out. By coincidence, it landed on the back of Lu Yunzi's hand not far away, hurting. He grinned. Lu Yunzi's eyes were not good, and Wang Xiwen also apologized repeatedly. The shock was not without reason. The eagle flew close, rushed to a woodland, and flew up again. Only then did everyone realize that what he was holding on his claws was actually a giant elephant. As you can imagine, what a gigantic ominous bird it was. Could it be the golden-winged daypen? Ye Fan whispered. This is a great discovery, a new species that has never been discovered before and must shock the world of science. You are a scientifictor. Pangbo is speechless. Your boy, God, the old people have abandoned you here, and you are still talking about science? Pangbo, you have a better attitude. Li Xiaoman was dissatisfied. Chen Xuanzi picked up another cigarette, and there was a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. He naturally knew that Pangbo did this to vent his anger for Ye Fan. Li Xiaoman brought Cade back this time. Pangbo guessed that Li Xiaoman thought that because Cade dumped his good friend Ye Fan, naturally he would not have a good tone for Cade. By the way, it seems that in the original book, Li Xiaoman was possessed by a crocodile-like spiritual sense. I wonder if he has not rewritten history at this moment? He turned the heavy pupil and found that Li Xiaoman's body was actually forbidden to check him. This shows that there is a problem with Li Xiaoman. Everyone else can check it, but Li Xiaoman can't check it, which explains the problem. What kind of world have we come to? Everyone was silent, and clenched the Buddhist artifacts in their hands. Then they were surprised to find that the brilliance in their hands was dim, and some of the Buddhist artifacts and gods were cracked. Chen Xuanzi understood that in the copper coffin, it seems that in order to activate those engraved pictures, the copper coffin wall also absorbed this energy. After all, these Buddhist utensils are like the original text and cannot be used. Is this a certain number in the dark? Then he turned the heavy pupil again and looked at the ancient abyss. He thought there was nothing to gain, but inadvertently found a huge black shadow, which seemed to be bound by an iron chain. Chen Xuanzi's eyes jumped, and he closed his eyes again. After some exploration, he consumed a lot of energy and deprived him of too much energy. He stumbled, as if he was about to fall down, and Ye Fan, who was on the side with quick eyes and quick hands, supported him. Many women came over and looked at him with concern. I said, "Brother, you seem to be a little weak. The cataract has not been cured, and your body is too weak." Lu Yunzi on the side actually spoke, with a trace of jealousy in his eyes. Chen Xuanzi turned a deaf ear and didn't want to pay attention to this kind of jumping clown, while some girls glared at Lu Yunzi. UUKMShu.com. The latter is a little embarrassing. In an instant, Chen Xuanzi stood firm, and at that moment he lost his strength, but it was only a short-term weakness, and there was nothing serious. Gollum. I don't know whose stomach is ringing. Everyone is a little embarrassed. People always have to eat and drink. Many people move their feet, and it is convenient to go to a hidden place. You have to suffer for your face. Pang Bo pouted his lips disdainfully and said, "Fortunately, I am a little clever ghost, and I have left my traces in that heavenly palace. That will be the greatness of mankind's exploration of the starry sky." Witness. Puff. Ye Fan instantly felt that the mineral water in his hand was not fragrant, and he almost threw it out. He couldn't help coughing again and again. No wonder, Pang Bo didn't find anything at the beginning, and could only take off the plaque at the end. It turned out to be for this reason. Yes, if the time comes, when humans go to investigate and survey later, and humans find your traces, we can put forward the theory of the origin of human Mars, saying that Mars has been an inseparable and inherent territory of human beings since ancient times. Chen Xuanzi also smiled and said. Pang Bo gave Chen Xuanzi an approving look, like a fellow man, while Ye Fan looked at the two of them with some resentment. "By the way, do you still have anything to eat? Do you still have those potato chips? I'm a little hungry, old Chen." Chen Xuanzi shook his head. He was finished eating, and now the system cannot be exchanged for the time being. He has to wait for the refresh, and besides, eating those fruits is the most important thing. Pang Bo looked a little regretful, but after a while, he said, "There is a spring pool over there. Coming." Chen Xuanzi was excited, and a flash of fiery flashed through his heart. He knew that the novice gift package prepared for them by the ruthless Emperor of the Forbidden Lands had arrived. Chapter 6, Get Out of the Forbidden Area? Surprise from Waiwei? Not far from the front, a few people looked, and a few old vines with the thickness of buckets surrounded an open space, and there was a 1-meter square spring pool, which flowed like a spring dew. There are more than a dozen small trees more than half a meter high growing by the spring. The emerald green leaves are broad, like the palm of a person. Each small tree bears a red fruit, which is a bit like a cherry. 9 wonderful immortal medicine. Chen Xuanzi's heart flashed with fiery heat. This is a great fortune in this forbidden area? He, Chen, is going to mix with Comrade Ye Fan today. Although he didn't know if the peerless white-clothed female emperor was standing in the bronze fairy hall under the abyss, maybe he was looking at this place. But after thinking about it, I was relieved. After all, Ye Fan had a good relationship with him. They were both brothers. In the Battle of Mars, after all, they also forged a profound revolutionary friendship. What is the matter between brothers? The three walked through the vines and walked over quickly, and they could smell a strong aroma from a long distance. "I'm starving to death. I wasn't in the mood to eat your potato chips before, so you've finished it. Now you can be full," Pang Bo said. Chen Xuanzi glanced at him speechlessly. Such a fragrant fruit is not poisonous, right? Ye Fan hesitated. After all, the brighter the appearance, the more attractive and poisonous it is, not only for humans, but also for animals. You eat it first, your skin is rough and your flesh is thick, and you must be clear of all poisons. Chen Xuanzi smiled. No, you're still here. I'm a little hungry. I have to go to the toilet. Pang Bo said nonsense. Ye Fan looked at the two living treasures and couldn't help but be speechless. Come, eat. Chen Xuanzi picked a fruit and took a bite. The juice was flowing and the aroma was lingering, making him feel a fragrant aroma that reached his internal organs. Eat, I'm afraid of a bird. Pang Bo and Ye Fan were a little shocked and felt that Chen Xuanzi was a wolf, but they didn't hesitate and started to eat the fruit. Even if Chen Xuanzi didn't take the lead to test the poison, they would still eat it. After all, they were too hungry, plus the fruit it's really too tempting, and the aroma scratches their hearts. Chen Xuanzi laughed inwardly. He dared to eat it directly. Naturally he had something to rely on. The basic function of the double pupil is to pass through the glitz and go directly to the essence. He can clearly distinguish whether it is a poison or not. No poison? I even feel a lot more energetic. Keep eating. The three of them devoured it, wishing they could swallow their tongues, because it was so fragrant. Chen Sunzi felt like a mirror in his heart. After all, it was an immortal medicine. Hey, this spring water also seems to have a faint aroma. Pangbo took a breath. Yafan picked up some and smelled it. The fact that such fruit can be produced here is probably something to do with this spring. This spring is a little sweet. Chen Sunzi took a sip and pretended to be surprised. Let's go back with more water. It's not unusual to come to this spring. Pangbo took out a few mineral water bottles and filled them up. Chen Sunzi also took out a large sports bottle and filled it with a large pot of water. Chen Sunzi sighed inwardly. He originally wanted to exchange some good things and put more water, but just tried to contact the system, and it was reported that the system was under maintenance. News. No wonder. A place like the ancient Forbidden Land was supposed to trigger the sign-in reward. No wonder there has been no movement, and the system still needs to be maintained, which is too unsound. After returning, Pangbo gave 2 of the remaining 4 fruits to Zhang Xiling and Lu Yi respectively, and threw the remaining 2 to Yafan and Chen Sunzi. Chen Sunzi did not eat them immediately, but put them in his backpack. Immediately, Chen Sunzi keenly felt that something was wrong, and everyone looked a little silent and a little depressed. Lu Yunzi and the others? Chen Sunzi was a little surprised that the small group of 3 people did not appear at this moment. Lu Yunzi, the 3 of them, it is estimated that they have encountered an accident. When they were looking for food, they probably strayed into the tiger's den. Just now, we heard an earth-shattering tiger roar and their screams. Lin Jia's pretty face turned pale, and Chen Sunzi couldn't help but be surprised when she said such a fact. These 3 groups, in the original text, have been targeting Yafan's group. In the original text, they were conspiring to kill Yafan, but they were discovered and thrown into the tiger's den. And so because of their own arrival, some of the original trajectories were overturned, and they did not target and murder Yafan and the others as they originally did, but the result still entered the tiger's den, which made people sigh. Let's leave as soon as possible. I always feel that this area is too dangerous. Yafan was silent for a while and suggested. Looking at the mountain shape and terrain in the distance, everyone determined a direction, thinking that if you follow this road, you can probably go out. The crowd walked along the mountains and forests, holding the deity Buddha artifacts that had long since lost their divinity. The functions of the Buddhist artifacts can only be used as bricks. The vegetation in the mountains is very dense, and everyone found a lot of wild fruits, temporarily solving the problem of food. Soon it was night. In the abyss, the terrifying figure that Chen Sunzi had observed with his heavy pupils densed with chains, roared in the sky, deafening, and the rolling sound waves made their ears hurt. Chen Sunzi and Yafan and their group, the next day, facing the sun, they set off again. In the process of moving forward, they actually found a heavenly palace. Everyone looked at it. It was a huge mountain, and it was very far away from here. There were several buildings that stretched across the mountain. There are actually cranes flying. Could it be the fairy palace where the immortals live? Well, it seems to be quite fat. Pangbo added in a low voice. Everyone is ready to speed up their pace. Many people are talking softly, and when they reach a populated place, they have to travel separately. Chen Sunzi exhaled a smoke ring, and his eyes seemed a little deep in the smoke. He knew that it was probably the ruins of the ancient heaven. After stepping on the cigarette butts with his feet, he took out another huazi, lit it up, and followed in the footsteps of everyone. Brother, you are addicted to smoking. Pangbo complained on the side. Chen Sunzi just smiled and didn't say anything. He also handed them cigarettes, but found that they didn't actually smoke. Originally, Chen Sunzi wanted to take a photo to commemorate the scene of the future Yetiandi and the big demon Pangbo. Swallowing clouds? It's a pity. A few hours later, Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.com. Everyone marched in the direction of the Tiangong, over the mountains, and almost alarmed a monster that was shedding its skin, but in the end there was no danger. When they came to a meadow, they fainted with heat all over their bodies. Not as expected by Chen Sunzi, they all changed their appearances. Little devil, why are you wearing Yafan's clothes? How did Pangbo's clothes fit on you? Little brat, where did you come from? You still smoke if you don't study well at a young age. Chen Sunzi, Yafan, Pangbo, and the three of them turned into the appearance of about 12 years old. The three of them were speechless. After a long time, they realized that it might be the problem of the fruit, but they did not expect to be rejuvenated. Lu Yiyi, who ate 2 fruits, did not change, but Zhang Xiling became about 10 years older, and the people under him were already old people who were dying. Pangbo has a very skinny personality. He supported the two of them. The uncle on the left and the aunt on the right kept calling, leaving everyone speechless. They also guessed that it was this strange forbidden place that deprived them of their lifespan, and Chen Sunzi and several others became younger because of taking the fruit. Chen Sunzi silently experienced this young and outrageous body. He only felt that although the body became smaller, it seemed to have undergone a reborn change. The strength did not decrease, but increased a lot. In order to find the hope of returning to youth, everyone continued to advance to the fairy palace, and they met the beautiful girl Wai Wei who was flying with a rainbow, which shocked everyone. Those who first entered this world thought that she was a fairy, but Chen Sunzi was a little uncomfortable, feeling that the girl's eyes were a little surprised, and she was scanning herself from time to time. Chapter 7. Legendary Physique? No, my body is only 12 years old. If the handsome and straight body in the previous round is okay, it is normal for girls to see Li Xingxi. Does this girl have some kind of pedophilia? Chen Sunzi calmly complained in her heart. Although she looked at others like a treasure, she was even more eager to see her own. It made him shiver. Correct. Chen Sunzi suddenly remembered that this Wai Wei who had just appeared on the stage seemed to have the legendary fairy eyes, which could be said to be able to see through the illusion. It is estimated that he could see some clues in his eyes, so he looked at him like that. Sure enough, according to the plot, Wai Wei raised her hand gently, and suddenly a rainbow light shone down, taking them up into the sky. In the eyes of everyone, this is fairy magic. In town, why do you have short hair? Why do you guys dress so weird? Did you emerge from the ancient forbidden land? After the simple answer was confirmed, everyone's eyes were eager. Although some people who came out of the barren and ancient forbidden land had lost their years, they also had the potential to practice. To Chen Sunzi's surprise, he was the first person to attract attention. After Wai Wei lowered her head and whispered a few words to the old people in Lingxiu Cave, they looked at Chen Sunzi with extremely warm eyes. When several people from Dongtian came to the immortal seedlings, Lingxiu Dongtian led by Wai Wei won the victory and was given priority to select the immortal seedlings. The old man in Lingxiu Dongtian pulled Chen Sunzi, Yafan, and Pangbo to their side at once. Wrinkles appeared on their faces, and their mouths were even crooked. Sure enough, it was a pair of terrifying pupils, and they were actually double pupils, in the shape of Tai Chi. After looking at each other, I actually had a feeling of heart palpitations. This old man of Lingxiu old man Dongtian trembled. He is an old man who has practiced for a long time. Looking at such a young junior, he has a feeling of panic. It is incredible. What physique is this? Everyone was in shock, as if they had never seen it before, and there seemed to be no relevant records in the historical books. Is it a newly born physique? Chong Tong, it actually exists. I saw in an ancient book that those with double pupils are born with the gift of gods. It seems to be traced back to the forgotten years of the chaos. The old man in Yuding Dongtian, Ma Yun, seemed to remember something, and looked at Chen Sunzi with some eagerness in his eyes. That's right, I cultivate the spirit eye, and it seems that I have heard such a legend. Our world does not seem to have this kind of constitution in history, and the ancient books mention only a few words. The girl Wai Wei also said, because this physique only exists in legends and has not been verified, it has not been included in the well-known super physiques. The old people in the caves thumped their chests and stumped their feet. They were very frustrated, and they all hated that they had not performed well today and missed such a fairy seedling. And the next plot is the same as before. Yafan was first discovered to be the Holy Eucharist, which caused everyone's attention, and then it was proved that the Holy Eucharist was not suitable for practice. Yes. Immediately, those old people talked about the vastness of this world again, and knowing that Lingxiu Cave was but a drop in the ocean, they had to be at a loss. The old man of Lingxiu explained that the most important thing is to get started. Although they are Dongtian, They are indeed affiliated with a holy place, and all opportunities can introduce them to the past. It feels so familiar. Hearing the old man's preaching, Chen Xuanzi felt the feeling that when he was applying for a job in his previous life, the leader spit all over the sky and painted a big cake for him. After some speeches, the meaning is to say, young people, you must work hard. We are the Holy Land Yangguo campus, and in the future, we will have experience in recommending Tsinghua University and Peking University. At the request of Chen Xuanzi and Peng Bo, Ye Fan, who was still at a low point in his life, was also brought into Lingxiu Cave. In the end, the group stopped in front of an ethereal mountain. It is peaceful here, with lush trees, pavilions and buildings, flowing springs, waterfalls, and flying cranes. It is a beautiful place. This crane is really fat. Peng Bo's old problem was committed, and he was coveted like a crane in the Tiangong, while the old man next to him glanced angrily, and bluntly said that he couldn't beat them yet. This place is not the cave of Lingxiu, but only the gate of the mountain. The fairy mist. Inside is misty and hazy, and exotic flowers and plants are everywhere. When I came to Yunshan, I saw a big blue stone standing in front of it, with the inscription engraved on it. 2 ancient words, Lingxiu, Chen Xuanzi, Ye Fan and Peng Bo were taken to a low mountain, where there were 3 or 5 thatched huts, 2 or 3 bamboo forests, a medicinal field and several old trees in front of the house. You stay here first. An old man who led the way explained a few words to them and left. Suffocated me. Chen Xuanzi groped for a while, and took out a cigarette in his pocket. After lighting the fire, he swallowed the clouds for a while with a look of enjoyment on his face. His face was about 12 years old, showing such an expression, it was indeed a bit. You haven't finished your cigarette yet. Ye Fan came over and said curiously. No more, I'm no more. Chen Xuanzi smiled slightly. The next day, Chen Xuanzi was surprised to be informed that the head of Lingxiu Dongtian had summoned him, and Chen Xuanzi followed a child in the eyes of Ye Fan and Peng Bo's doubts. Because of his arrival, he did go to some crossroads. Originally, there was no leader. According to the game, it triggered some side quests. Could it be that he unlocked new characters because of his physique? When he came to a dilapidated hall, the boy entered first and said loudly, "Report to the head, someone has brought it. Let him come over." Chen Xuanzi entered the hall, and after saluting, looking at the person in front of him, he couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. The head in front of him was actually a woman. The woman had a beautiful face, was long and slender, and had a dovetail-shaped hairpin. Yu reading www.yukansha.com's graceful and delicate body, dressed in a light green long gown, shone under the scattering of light, filled with immortal energy, indifferent and refined. As expected of a woman in practice, this temperament is indeed far superior to those rouge vulgar fans he has seen before. He never expected that the Lord of Lingxiu Cave is actually such a beautiful woman, and the fluctuations emanating from that woman also made his heart palpitate. This woman is unfathomable. It's a good pair of pupils, and it's mysterious and unparalleled. The head of the beauty's head trembled slightly, and her face suddenly flashed a hint of shock. But it was quickly covered up, as if thinking of some legend. You can practice with me these days. After a simple conversation, the head Li Wenjing actually said such a thing, which really surprised Chen Xuanzi. Chen Xuanzi nodded, although he didn't know why the sect master offered to teach him actively, but the man with double pupils had a deep and intelligent mind, amazing judgment, and felt that the other party was not malicious, so he agreed. During the practice, it is very important to have someone teach me that my unreliable system is maintained from time to time, and I can't rely on him entirely. The head of Li Wenjing rearranged Chen Xuanzi to live in a bamboo forest, and the cave owner's room was not far away. Chen Xuanzi went back to get things, bid farewell to Ye Fan and the others temporarily, moved into a new residence, and the head told him that he would guide him into practice tomorrow. At night, the starry sky was bright, and the cool wind was blowing. Ding! The maintenance of the system is completed, the new sign in place is refreshed, the tomb of the demon emperor. Chapter 8, Open up a sea of bitterness and awaken the innate magic of heavy pupils. The tomb of the demon emperor. Chen Xuanzi looked at the sky full of stars and couldn't help muttering to himself. The tomb of the demon emperor is the last great emperor in the post-desolate ancient era. It is said to be the place where Emperor Qing's bones were buried. There is a complete basic scripture of Lunhai cultivation Daojing in it. There is also a heart of a demon emperor, and a copper block that is suspected to be the emperor's celestial cauldron. The next day, the sun was rising, and the soft sunlight poured down, casting a faint halo on the front and back of the house and the trees, making it seem peaceful and quiet. Li Wenjing, the head of the beauty, also arrived early. She has a soft appearance and is very quiet. She is wearing a long white dress and comes in a style, just like Fairy Guangan Linchin. She was going to teach Chen Sunzi and guide him into the path of cultivation. She first touched the bones and measured the spirit of Chen Sunzi. Her face was very surprised, and found that this kid's talent is really amazing. However, Chen Sunzi was a little uncomfortable, a little embarrassed, thinking in his heart, fortunately, he is a beautiful woman. If he is a bad old man, he will not be afraid to die. As expected of the legendary gods, Li Wenjing sighed inwardly, looking at Chen Sunzi with increasingly hot eyes. Immediately, Li Wenjing began to teach him the concept of cultivation. For example, everything has a place of birth, and there is such a place in our human body, which is the root of life vitality and contains the essence of the whole body. It is called the source wheel of life. It can be called the wheel of life, and it is also the foundation of practice. According to what she said, to enter the path of cultivation, one must first sense the wheel of life, and then try to open up the sea of suffering, before officially entering the path of cultivation. Created in the sea of bitterness, brewing vitality in the stillness, cultivated the divine veins, sacrificed into an overpass, reached the other side, and came to the end of the sea of bitterness. Chen Sunzi nodded thoughtfully. The mysterious principles of all things in the world emerged in his heart, and before he knew it, it was already sunset, and it was almost evening. To the point. After another day, Li Wenjing was explaining the theoretical basis, and Chen Sunzi was also caught up in the principles of nature, unable to extricate himself from the wonder of heaven and earth, and didn't even want to smoke. On the third day, Li Wenjing wanted to tell him the basics as before, but she was shocked by Chen Sunzi's words. I sense the wheel of life. Sect leader Li Wenjing's expression changed slightly. When it was confirmed that it was indeed the case, he was a little inconceivable and looked very surprised. This kind of talent is really rare in ancient and modern times. It is estimated that it can be compared with those of the descendants of the Holy Land, right? And he didn't take any medicine. Like ordinary practitioners, they would use Biko liquid to assist induction, but for some special physiques, this Biko liquid has no effect. Some people rely on their own anti-sky perception to sense the wheel of life. Chen Sunzi really sensed it. He could guide the flow of essence, and he was almost ready to open up the sea of suffering. Li Wenjing had already left the Daojing the day before yesterday. It is known as the strongest method for basic entry. Although it is a fragment, it is also valuable. The truly complete method is in the tomb of the demon emperor. At this moment, under the guidance of Li Wenjing, he is running Shengong, ready to try to open up the sea of suffering. I don't know how long it took. The world suddenly became golden, and a tsunami-like sound broke out, which was deafening. I saw Chen Sunzi's sea of bitterness, where the divine light is full of light, and it is extremely gorgeous. The blue sea is surging, like thousands of troops and horses galloping. The bitter sea of ordinary people is lifeless, but his bitter sea has an indescribable vitality, which seems to contain exuberant vitality. Immediately, a situation that surprised him even more occurred. Above the rolling wave, the two chi of yin and yang actually emerged. The yin and yang are transpiring and continuously surround the sea of bitterness, forming a mysterious trajectory there, constantly arranging and combining in the air, and then turning into a bright rain of light, like white petals, slowly fluttering into the boundless sea of suffering. Yin and yang, the chaos repeats itself. Chen Sunzi's heart was shocked, and he felt that the yin and yang tu chi, which constantly revolved and evolved, actually contained the trajectory of the avenue. All things are yin and yang, and they are in harmony with each other. The yin and yang revolving, is it evolving chaos? Although it is a small change now, but his mind has sensed. In his vast sea of suffering, strands of chaos are rippling. This is some kind of mysterious change. He even thought, whether there will be a day when his sea of suffering will completely turn into chaos and become a sea of chaos. Yafan's sea of bitterness is golden. If it is iron-like, it is very difficult to open up. and his physique is different from ordinary people, and it has opened up so quickly, and it may turn into a sea of chaos in the future, which makes him agitated for a while. At this moment, his body is bathed in brilliance, exuding a crystal clear precious light, which is very magical. The originally smooth skin is like jade, flowing with divine brilliance. Then, after the successful opening of the Sea of Bitterness, he felt something in his heart, and felt that as he officially stepped into the path of cultivation, the double pupils actually began to change. He felt that his eyes were a little numb and itchy, as if something was squirming in his pupils, which made him feel a strange feeling in his heart. He who was sitting cross-legged in the open space suddenly stood up, which surprised Li Wenjing beside him, but she knew that he seemed to be in a state of transformation at the moment, so she did not disturb him. Chen Xuanzi slowly closed his eyes by sensing and walked to the bamboo forest on the side. There were rolling stones the size of water tanks. He felt that his eyes seemed to burst out with energy, so he was going to use those big stones to experiment. Not long after, Chen Xuanzi stood silently, the breeze caressed, as if the time was frozen. He opened a pair of eyes abruptly. At this moment, his eyes were as bright as golden lights, with a compelling power, very terrifying. Boom! Two bright golden light beams burst out from the eyes. The speed was very fast, and the sound of swords rang out. Yu read www.uukangshow.com pierced through the golden cracked stone, and a huge stone was smashed by two beams of golden light, turning it into dust. This. Li Wenjing's pupils shrank slightly, a storm surged in her heart, her chest kept rising and falling, and she seemed very restless. In terms of power alone, I am afraid that the monk Shangshen Qiao will strike with all his strength. It really is the legendary terrifying physique. And Chen Xuanzi felt something in his heart. It was estimated that it was the innate supernatural power of those with heavy pupils, just like the divine arts brewed by the bones of the perfect world Shi Hao, the hand of the gods, the robbery of the gods and the like. And in this world, the records about the double pupil are just a few words, and there is no record about the innate magic. Therefore, in his heart, he named this pupil magic power, the Eye of Silentness. The sudden control of such a powerful force made Chen Xuanzi feel a little unreal. Those who do not have double pupils are born gods. It is really not just talking about it. An extraordinary quality. The prestige of Chongtong, let me write it. Chen Xuanzi suddenly felt a sense of pride in his heart. Gollum. Chen Xuanzi was a little embarrassed. After sleeping and forgetting to eat, he was still hungry after all. Looking at Li Wenjing aside, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed, but Li Wenjing seemed to be unconscious and stared blankly at the gluttonous powder in that place. Master, I will retire first. Chen Xuanzi bowed, while Li Wenjing nodded dumbly, not knowing what he was thinking. Chen Xuanzi was a little funny, then his mind moved, a little worried about Yafan and Pangbo, thinking about going to Yafan and Pangbo for a walk check out the situation. Chapter 9, end quote. Filial piety and respect for elders, end quote. Chen Xuanzi, it is already night time, the bright moon hangs high, and the moonlight is as soft as water waves. In front of the thatched hut next to the medicine field, 3 people were seated separately. On the table were some exquisite side dishes, including wine and meat, which were very rich. Oh, old Chen, you are still very capable. We have been eating food in the past few days, and our mouths have to fade out. Pangbo raised his head and took a sip of wine, so envious. Hey, we've been vegetarian these days, and we haven't eaten minced meat for a long time. Yafan also complained a little, grabbed a chicken leg, and said so. Chen Xuanzi smiled. Naturally, he would not say that it was exchanged in the system. The wine and meat had consumed the last of his savings. Of course, he had not enjoyed it recently, because the sect master had solemnly told him that practitioners must learn pure-hearted. When they learned that Chen Xuanzi had opened up a sea of misery, the two congratulated them again and again and were very excited, and Yafan's expression was a little melancholy after the joy. The Sea of Bitterness is like divine iron, as hard as a rock, and the physique of the ancient holy body is extremely special. Although he has not yet entered the cultivation stage, but is still in the stage of absorbing common sense, he has already been told that if he wants to sense the wheel of life and open up the sea of suffering, it will be very difficult. Tough things. Chen Xuanzi patted Yafan's shoulder with the smell of alcohol. I believe in you, the ancient sacred body will definitely shine in your place. Yafan smiled when he heard this, and was grateful. He knew that Chen Sunzi was encouraging him, and he felt better. He was a persevering and cheerful person. Naturally, he would not stop moving forward because of the blow of his body. Speaking of which, what peculiar function does your double pupil have? Why do the elders look down on you so much? Pang Bo said. It's nothing, just a simple perspective. What? Pang Bo subconsciously put his hands on his chest, showing an exaggerated expression. A black line appeared on Chen Sunzi's forehead, and gritted his teeth. No matter how bad I am, I will not stare at the big men. That's really a pity. Our place is basically all male cultivators, and only a few female cultivators are relatively old. I don't know if you are good at it. Then if you have the opportunity to worship in a holy place in the future, there must be a lot of goddesses and goddesses in the middle, and then there will be a chance to feast your eyes. Yafan laughed and joked. As expected of you, Chen Sunzi complained in his heart. After all, he saw the face of Yahei in the legend, and after a few words, Chen Sunzi rolled his eyes. In the next month, Chen Sunzi returned to the residence he had arranged before, and continued to practice mysticism, and finally stabilized the realm of the Sea of Suffering. But he was still not satisfied, and he wanted to practice the Emperor's seal art. At least he needed to break into the realm of the Fountain of Life. In the Demon Emperor tomb, there will be many powerful monks in the future. It seems that even the Yaoguang Holy Land and the ancient aristocratic family will come. In fact, in the original book, Yafan walked in the primitive ruins back then, and he didn't dare to get too close, so he could only keep Ovid. The years of cultivation have passed in a hurry, and before you know it, half a year has passed in the Lingxiu cave. What? The conference asked me to speak, to talk about the experience of cultivation. The corners of Chen Sunzi's mouth twitched. In the past 6 months, he basically didn't move much, and he was cultivating, but now the head suddenly came over and suddenly told him about it. According to the meaning of the head, during this period of time, he has made rapid progress, and the organization has seen it in the eyes of the organization. In this conference, let him speak as a representative of the freshmen, exchange his experience, and inspire some who have not yet opened up the bitter sea. By, of course, as an important and valuable practical experience, it will be recorded and prepared for future selection into the Holy Land. In short, outstanding freshman representatives and gilded accumulation of internship experience. All right. Chen Sunzi didn't want to go, so he didn't want to be in the limelight, but he couldn't stand the fact that the head was treating him well, so he agreed. In front of Lingxiu Cliff. You're so young, you've already opened up a sea of bitterness. It's worthy of being an immortal seedling. It's still just a doll, and it has already achieved such an achievement. His pupils are very special. After looking at each other, I have a feeling of heart palpitations. Everyone was talking and amazed. In front of Lingxiu Cliff, Chen Sunzi's face was serious. First, he thanked the leader for his teaching and Dongtian's cultivation, and then said that it was the blessing of his fellow disciple. The elders who listened nodded again and again, sighing that Rizai can be taught. In the formal explanation of some of the experience of cultivation, cultivation is inherently mysterious and profound, and things like this hazy and specious are the most contemplative. In this regard, he is surprisingly good at it. With an expression of thought and surprise, Chen Sunzi couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. However, when he glanced down, he inadvertently found that Yafan and Pangbo were also here. According to the plot, they had already opened up a sea of misery at about this time. They came at this time to support Chen Sunzi. After Chen Sunzi finished speaking, he found that they had actually left, but a burst of gaze followed. Of course, he avoided his eyes, and the eyes of Ruao turned over from time to time. Chen Sunzi looked over, and the person who looked at him had a dry body like a tree, and his black clothes seemed to be wrapped around a short bamboo pole, coupled with the disheveled white hair. The whole person looked a little gloomy and terrifying. Chen Sunzi's eyes narrowed slightly. As usual, before the opening of Lingxiu's speech, the elders had already introduced themselves. This person's surname is Han. I don't know why. If there is Ruo Wu, he restrained his breath, but he still captured that moment. How sharp is Chen Sunzi? Those with double pupils are originally intelligent and incomparably sharp people. This elder Han, who is in the sky, seems to have some impression that he is a villain who has played in the shadow of the sky. Chen Sunzi is not afraid of him, not to mention that many elders are here. Just say that the cultivation base, that elder is only in the realm of life Quan, and the supreme pupil technique he possesses, even in the realm of the sea of suffering, is not afraid of him at all. Oh, it's you. Chen Sunzi's mind moved. He knew this person. In the original book, this person knew that Yefan had taken the holy fruit and the divine spring, and Yefan was the legendary waste body, so he wanted to refine him into a great medicine for the human body. I actually paid attention to him. In fact, Elder Han felt bitter and aggrieved. Chen Sunzi, as an immortal seedling, how could he dare to touch him in this situation, not to mention that he was also closely related to the head. When I watched him just now, I thought that this child had also taken the holy fruit and Shenquans. Reading www.uukangshu.com. So he subconsciously imagined a wave of him practicing medicine, and the breath that he inadvertently revealed was actually captured by him. Chen Sunzi's eyes moved slightly, a faint ray of light circulated, and he looked over with his heavy pupils. The elder Han's heart trembled in an instant, his face was pale, and those pupils made him feel as if he had fallen into a pitch-black abyss. The rip. Looking at Chen Sunzi coming over, everyone was a little surprised. At this moment, many practitioners have left, and only a few elders of Lingxiu are still there. Elder Han, what's wrong with you? Chen Sunzi came over and looked at Elder Han seemingly kindly. His eyes seemed concerned, and he smiled harmlessly and kindly, but there was a hint of power in his eyes, which constantly eroded his mind, and only aimed at him. People, no one else knows how much pain Elder Han is in at this moment. In the eyes of the other elders, they are very pleased, thinking that this is a good child who cares about the elders. Really good boy. Not only is his talent for cultivating amazing, but he is also pure-hearted. Old Han, please don't keep tinkering with those poisonous drugs. Your body is already so weak. Yay, get more sunshine. Look at your pale skin and heavy dark circles under your eyes. You have to manage your time well. Don't hide in caves all day. I have a friend who gave it to me. I bought some tiger and deer antler, and when you come to my place, I will give you some repairs to repair your body. Elder Han was suffering from the power at the moment. Looking at Chen Sunzi's kindness, he wanted to cry without tears, but in his heart he just wanted to say, what a pure and kind heart, care about the elders. Chapter 10, Shock. The physique of those with heavy pupils is unexpectedly. Chen Sunzi bowed his hands to say goodbye to the elders, and walked away leisurely and unrestrainedly, the corners of his mouth slightly curled, leaving a horrified expression on his face, and Elder Han with a gloomy expression stood there. Back at the place of residence, it was late at night. After Chen Sunzi came back, he sat cross-legged on a smooth and flat stone in front of the house. His eyes were a little deep. He was thinking about the next road, how to go on. In this world, the realm of the Sea of Bitterness is indeed too weak. It's okay to be in the Lingxiu cave. If you want to go out to practice, it will definitely be in danger, and you need to constantly check in, so you're not destined to be in one corner. And the Lingxiu cave is really too much. Small, like a drop in the ocean. He closed his eyes slightly, and seemed to be thinking, but his heart was full of life, because in the recharge system, in addition to ordinary coins to buy daily necessities and items, there is a new recharge system that can be used to exchange exercises with classics. And the recharged items need to be extremely precious. Sources. According to ancient records, in the era when heaven and earth were in harmony with all things, vegetation was prosperous, living beings were powerful, and elixir was inexhaustible. It also produces many sources, which are as crystal clear as amber, and contain a lot of life essence. There are even some rare sources of gods, with tyrannical creatures from ancient times sealed inside. After such a source is mined, it can provide a huge amount of life essence. Chen Sunzi knew that this source was really hard currency. Yefan practiced the ancient sacred body, and his body was like a bottomless pit. And those ancient emperors and celestial beings who were sleeping in the forbidden area also cut themselves together and sealed them in the Shenyuan to delay the passage of vitality. Because the source has not yet been obtained, the page of the things exchanged by the system cannot be displayed, which makes him quite regretful. The most important thing right now is to enter the realm of the fountain of life, so as to have the courage to go out, and then find a way to get some sources. In the next month, Chen Sunzi lived in seclusion, and occasionally went out to ask some Lingxu elders and practice matters, because during this period, the head still went out from time to time. She could not ask in time, she could only ask someone elders. But the head is still very concerned about him breaking into the realm of the fountain of life. He will get some elixir for him every 3 or 5 times, and Chen Sunzi's sea of suffering is gradually expanding. Finally, a week later, when he fell into the ethereal realm again, the sea of suffering was no longer calm, and began to spurt frantically. This was a sign that he was about to communicate with the wheel of life and release the divine spring. Naturally, he knew that this was a sign of a breakthrough. Although it is a little more difficult than the sea of bitterness, the problem is still not big. He comprehended the Daojing again, and there were some annotations on it, which were left by the master, and with his unparalleled appearance, he naturally broke through quickly. Boom! A powerful breath burst out. Chen Sunzi's whole body was full of energy, like a vast ocean. The surrounding vegetation was flying, the rocks were volleying, and the ground was shaking. He sensed that in the most central part of the bitter sea, a spring appeared, communicating the wheel of life. The divine spring was flowing, and what surprised him the most was that the two chi of yin and yang that originally floated above the sea of bitterness actually appeared. The situation of separation, and the interweaving and fusion of yin and yang turned out to be a part of the misty chaotic chi, entangled in the divine spring, and his eyes at this moment have changed again. The left eye has a strong vitality. The right eye contains the power of destruction, and the power of yin and yang seems to flow in his eyes. But in an instant, everything disappeared again, which seemed to be an illusion. Is this the next path for double pupil surgery? Chen Sunzi's team felt deeply about the power of destruction, because he had already awakened the first innate divine technique before, and he vaguely felt that if the second innate divine technique was activated, it was estimated that it would be related to the eye of vitality. Life and death are opposites, but they complement each other. Destruction and vitality are originally the process of reincarnation, just like a black and white Taiji diagram. Only when both are combined can a certain subtle and perfect balance be achieved. Heartfelt. It's time to practice the tool. After completing a small amount of mysticism, he can use the sacred mark to practice the tool. He was preparing to practice the tool, but now Chen Sunzi was surprised that the sea of suffering that developed did not have the sacred marker that should have existed. Where is the endless vitality of life? Chen Sunzi suddenly realized that there seems to be a strong vitality of life in that yin and yang. Could it be that these are my God marks? Chen Sunzi was shocked at the moment, and then he looked at the past again. The intertwined yin and yang were distributed very regularly, like a chain of order. Although the color was not so bright, it was very deep, containing vitality and the reason of creation. I see. I didn't understand it before, but now I finally have a clear idea. The yin and yang two chi that were born at the time of opening up the sea of suffering are estimated to be the divine marks that belong to the physique of the double pupil. It turns out that people with heavy pupils not only rely on pupil surgery, but their bodies are probably different from ordinary monks. After all, people with heavy pupils are born gods, not just relying on a pair of eyes alone. Chen Sunzi further realized the physique of heavy pupils. Unfathomable. In a perfect world, the only people who can rely on the accumulation of one lifetime and the 10 crown king Ban Xian and other heavenly arrogances to compete with each other, apart from Shi Hao, the barren emperor who was born for the sake of cultivating and practicing calamity, there are only those with heavy pupils. You can say that the important thing is people, not physique, but don't forget, in the world that covers the sky, there are only a few people who can reach the peak with mortal body. Only after truly reaching the great achievement and understanding the origin of all things, can one say that the physique is not the most important thing, but the mortal body is the source of everything. Chen Sunzi didn't dare to agree with this kind of remarks, but he could only say that there was some truth to it, because not everyone can reach the top, so physique is also very important. It's like saying, after so-and-so becomes famous, he can naturally say, I'm not interested in money. Chen Sunzi also believes that he is now successful and has everything, and it is understandable that he is not interested in money, but he absolutely does not believe it. A few years ago, when he was still in his hair, he was able to say that he was not interested in money so calmly. After sighing in his heart, Yu reading www.uukangsha.com. Chen Sunzi fell into the difficulty of choosing again, and now there is a major problem? What kind of weapon do you practice with the sacred mark? Chen Sunzi frowned. He had no choice in his heart. In fact, he could kill the enemy by relying on the power of the god rune without training the tool, but Chen Sunzi felt that his divine rune was different from ordinary people. In order to keep a low profile and fight the enemy more conveniently, he still had to practice into a device. Ordinary monks can sacrifice the god pattern into various shapes, such as flying knives, daggers, etc., which can be released from the body to kill the enemy, which is more effective than the god pattern. Some people will spend a lot of time and thought to sacrifice the original god pattern into flying swords, small shields, halberds, etc., which are easier to control and will be much more powerful against the enemy. There are some people who are not afraid of complexity and mystery, and repeatedly hammer and practice the appearance of ding, bell, or tower, and can exert various mysterious powers. The representative works are the cauldron of the mother of all things, the bell without beginning. Generally speaking, the more complex and mysterious the tool cultivated with the primitive divine rune, the more powerful it will be, and of course it will be more difficult to form. Would you like to temper a cigarette or a pair of sunglasses? Chen Sunzi suddenly had a bad taste in his heart, thinking like this. Later generations recorded, Emperor Sunation's magic power can pass through the mysterious, and his true body can't be seen. A cigarette patrols the star field, shocking the major forbidden areas of life. Thinking of this, Chen Sunzi couldn't help but smile, revealing his white teeth, which were very brilliant and rarely revealed a little boyishness. The practice equipment became cigarettes and sunglasses. Naturally it was a bad taste for him for a while, and it couldn't be done, and he already had a vague idea in his heart. Tai Chi diagram.